So welcome to the Layman Program on Creativity and Entrepreneurship Pitch Workshop. Thank you so much for being here. We're excited to have you. So we can go ahead and move on to the next slide. So why did we choose the pitch? Out of all of the possible areas we could have chosen to present to you guys, we chose to present to you the pitch. It is because it is so important for gaining any kind of stakeholder. Mastering the pitch is one of the most important things that you can do to gain capital, standing, and followers. If your presentation skills are poor, or if you don't include all of the relevant information, then your audience won't buy into your idea. Just think about politicians. What makes a successful politician isn't as much, unfortunately, the validity of their ideas as much as their public speaking skills and their ability to say the right thing at the right time and to present their ideas in the right way. So your pitch should also match the mission of what you're trying to do. So when crafting your pitch, you have to think about what your goals are. What are you taking this company to? What do you need to get there? What do you want to get out of this presentation? Creating your pitch will not only help you answer these questions, but will help your audience to understand your ideas and your goals. And it will also help you more concisely communicate them and perhaps even find new ones. And finally, a pitch allows you to get feedback. It not only allows room for feedback from others, but it also allows you to critique yourself. So like, you have to ask yourself, if you were watching somebody give this pitch, what would you think about it? Would you be hesitant about any part, or would you want to change anything? These are all very important questions to ask yourself. And they're all very important questions to answer if you want to be successful. And next slide. So we're going to preface all of this information by saying that these are guidelines and not rules. What we say to include here isn't necessarily all inclusive of what you should be including in your pitch. Here, we're going to show you some key elements with one slide per key element. But depending on the format of the pitch, you might have multiple slides per key element, or you might even have more key elements. So with that, I'll hand it off to Marina to present the first of the key elements of a pitch.
Thank you so much, Katrina. So to start off, these parts are a little bit more optional than the rest of what we're going to talk about, but these really set the stage for your presentation. So a title slide, not really optional, but we're going to talk about this. And agenda, again, a little optional. This really sets the stage for your presentation, and it helps orient the audience, and it adds professionalism. So here is an example of a title slide that we would use for LPCE. Now, it adds a flair of professionalism. It clearly indicates that we've put a lot of time into this. And look at it, it's gorgeous. Did it capture attention? Do you want to talk to me now? Heck yes. Moving on. Okay, the next part, the agenda. Now, this one is also a bit optional too. It depends on the situation, but generally it is recommended because it helps you prime the audience for what you're going to talk about. It really helps set the stage for what's coming up, and they can anticipate what you're going to say and know where you're going, which is really good because you're taking away the thinking that they have to do. You're doing it for them. Right? Now, another thing that you really want to do is to introduce yourself and your team. Investors really want to know who they're funding. And just like in a conversation, you should introduce yourself in the beginning. They're funding you just as much as they're funding the idea. There's been a lot of cases where just knowing someone and knowing who they are adds a flair of integrity to it, and gives them some more street cred, so to speak, to lend more validity to the idea. Now, introducing yourself or your team, it can be as simple as just spoken introductions. You can do this during the title slide, or if you have a large team like we here at LPC do, it can be an entire slide in and of itself. It may be, if it's relevant or if it's necessary, you can briefly describe your qualifications to take on the task and indicate why you're worthy of having this venture. A sentence or two for everyone max, because you don't want to go on forever about it. Now, for example, between all of us here at LPCE, we have a PhD, 2 masters, and collectively over 100 years of experience in the education sector. So investors want to know that you're competent and you're ready to take on the challenge that you're presenting on. But also remember that the main point of your presentation is your idea, though. And with that, I'm going to hand it off to.
Yep, thank you, Marina. So the next part of a good pitch is, of course, defining your problem landscape. Now, what we mean by this is essentially pinpoint the problems and issues that you want to address clearly and concisely. So if we go to the next slide, we can here have an example of what to do. Essentially for LPC, we have defined our main problems on these bullet points. And by doing so, we are able to communicate to investors as well as people who want to join our program what exactly the challenges that we want to overcome. And doing this sets you up for success in defining your solution. And it is an essential part to be able to clearly define your problem, because without knowing what it is that you're trying to solve, your solution will not seem as coherent to potential investors. So here in this case for LPC, we want to address the issues of COVID-19, racial injustice, and climate change. And we also want to be able to bridge the gap between the academic setting at the college as well as the venture world. And so if we go to the next slide, we can discuss how solutions complement the problem. And by describing your solutions in a way that directly follows the problem, it allows people who you're pitching to better understand the correlation between the two. And so if you go to the next slide, our solution, which is LPCE here, we've defined what we do and how we are planning on addressing the challenges that we stated before. And just having a few bullet points that clearly lay out the solution allows you to expand upon what exactly it is you're trying to do. And make sure when you're doing this to back it up with facts and data in order to really prove that you are addressing the problems that you stated before. This allows you to both impact in the standard XPOS 20 world, it allows you to address both the logos as well as the pathos, because through emotions, you can convey your solution and back it up with data, and that gives you credibility. And so we can pass it along to Maria.
Thanks, Rowan. Throughout the whole presentation, your audience will be thinking why your idea will work. And this is your chance to explain it to them. In other words, do your market analysis and be sure to differentiate your idea from similar things that exist. And if we go to the next slide and we can take a look at using our LPCE as an example, if you enroll our course LPC 100 Studio Lab and compare that with your typical college course, not only you will be able to attend office hours and learn innovation skills, you will also be able to participate in various funding opportunities and community events. And compare with the Harvard Innovation Labs, we also offer thoughtful mentor pairing, community events to foster growth of Harvard entrepreneurs like yourself. So again, explain here who your competitors are and how your idea is different from what they're currently doing. If possible, use data, like Rowan has mentioned. Definitely give these areas a lot of thought to ensure that your venture will be successful. Take this opportunity to explain your target audience and why they will want to use your product or service or app over others in the same space. Some examples could be a convenience factor, higher quality, or new service unavailable anywhere else. You should also try to help your audience visualize the current market with graphs or charts like this one right here. After market analysis, if we could go to the next slide, it's important to include your project timeline or growth strategy. This doesn't really have to be and probably won't necessarily be accurate, but it shows that you're future oriented and have direction and can participate how to have growth. On the next slide, you will see our own LPCE project timeline. So your timeline should outline your financial strategy and plan, the amount of users you have or other information. Again, to give you an example, our own LPCE project timeline, we began program development with bringing on staff members last year, with around the same time began to develop course development. In late 2020, we began to dispense funds to program applications, hosting 9 events, and our community members grew from 0 to 150 plus. This year, our spring course Lpc 100 Studio Lab just got started, and we're very excited to see what the future cohorts who will join us. And if you're not graduating this semester, we definitely sure hope to see you in our class this fall. And we'll have continued programming and participants as well. And bringing this all back to the pitch, obviously formatting of the timeline or what you should include in the timeline, depending on your venture, such as partnerships with certain companies in their space, profit margins, number of users, and others. And now I'm passing on to Sam. Sam, if you want to unmute.
Thank you, Maria, very much for both passing it on and reminding me to unmute myself. So the best pitches leave the audience eager to engage with your venture. So keep this in mind when you're building your pitch. Who is your audience? Will it be potential funders? Will it be potential team members? Or simply is it to inform a target market? So in short, answer their question. What's in it for me? Your pitch should be their call to action. Tell your potential investors what you'll use their money for, and make sure that that resonates with what you know of them. What's their return on that investment? Is it social impact? Is it financial? Or is it something else? And tell them what you need them to do. Do they get to volunteer? Do they get to mentor, fund, or grow your idea? You need to hook them with this call to action. Next slide, please. So using the layman program here, it's surprising that one thing that is missing from many pitches is this call to action. So using us as an example, we first identified our main audience. Then we told them what we wanted to help them achieve. Our answer to their question, what's in it for me? The LPCE team knew their audience. How do you get to know your audience? Well, you do research, lots and lots of research. Don't make assumptions, make grounded and data-driven decisions based on this, on extensive interviews, on surveys and research. And my last point for you to remember as you build your call to action or your what's in it for me, is that it matches the mission or the spirit of your venture. LPCE is a program for Harvard students, and it is a program to help activate ideas for positive social impact. That meant we had to market, provide content, scale, and operate in that same spirit. Next slide, please. And now that we've covered the content, remember this: pitching is a performance. Deliver your content while telling a good story. Have flair, be contagiously enthusiastic, smile, all while speaking slowly, loudly, and maintaining eye contact. If it's a virtual pitch, look at the camera and be sure to test your pitch and watch the recording. Don't be afraid to redo a video over and over. And if it is a live pitch and you happen to stumble, as everybody does, it's totally fine. Just smile and carry on. Your pitch is your story. It is the play you're performing, and a good story is engaging. It has a positive arc, displaying a growth mindset. It starts with the problem, then it moves to your solution in the middle, and then your call to action as a cliffhanger. And the last note on performance: make sure your visuals are strong, and they also match your mission or your vibe. A concise and clean presentation of numbers, ideas, and images can boost your pitch and put you over the top. All right, back to you, Kat.
Thank you, everyone, for that presentation. And now we're going to move in to two different workshops. So the first workshop is going to be an improv workshop, and we'll demonstrate how to do this workshop very quickly before moving into breakout rooms to do it. So if you want to move to the next slide, Marina, thank you. So we're going to go into 5 different breakout rooms. Each person is going to get one slide with a random chart, picture, graph, and then they're going to have 10 seconds to look at the chart, picture, graph, think about what they're going to say, and then 20 seconds to present the slide to the entire breakout room as if they know it. If you are uncomfortable speaking or would not like to participate in this activity, that is totally fine. Please just put your name in parentheses. We're going to still put you into breakout rooms so you can watch the activity, but we just will not call on you to do the activity. If you don't know how to put your name in parentheses, if you hover over yourself, there's 3 dots in the corner, and then you can just click on it and then like rename yourself to put your name in parentheses. So the last thing that I'll say about this is just be creative and have fun. So if I'm going to use my coworker Rowan as a guinea pig for this workshop. So I'm going to get my nifty timer out. And Rowan, you're going to have 10 seconds to look at the next slide and then 20 seconds to present it. So ready? Marina, next slide. And go.
Oh boy. I was not prepared for this. All right. So as you can see here, the various effects of social media on pre-adolescent teens, as well as those ranging from age 14 to 24, is actually very detrimental. As you can see here in the red, at the top, sleeping schedules are most impacted by the use of social media. And we can also see other negative impacts such as bullying, body image, anxiety, and depression that all negatively impact social media users between the ages of 14 and 24. And so therefore the solution for, oh, sorry.
You're good. Okay, so as you can see, 20 seconds was like very, very short. That was actually like 25 seconds, but we'll give a little bit of leeway. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and just jump right in. Okay, so then we have a few minutes for quick question and answer session. If anybody has any questions, you can use the raise hand function. Yes, yeah.
Hi, I was just kind of wondering that if you're pitching something which is relevant to like current circumstances, so not necessarily like a global pandemic, but just something for which people are already very aware of the problem, how you would approach pitching and like persuading them that you have like a very kind of new approach to the problem, and also kind of being able to present the problem to them in a way that still makes you sound educated with just like repeating information already available.
Yeah, so I guess if it's still a problem, then it means that it hasn't been addressed correctly yet, right? So, I mean, if you just repeat information that's readily available, that's not necessarily a bad thing. And you can also add in more data that they maybe didn't know previously. So if you add in like facts and statistics, it makes you sound like you're more educated and you're more able to address the problem. And so I wouldn't worry about like repeating information they already know, because like if they know it's a problem and they see that you're addressing it in a way that hasn't been done before and in a way that might actually like work towards making it not a problem anymore, like that's perfect, and that's exactly what I want to see and that they want to invest in.
And to follow on, that's great advice. And in one way, Kat, thank you. In one way I have found in pitches I've watched, that does a good job essentially repeating information that maybe you don't think they need to hear, but is through a story, telling them a story. And so imagine your user and tell the story through that user running up against this problem, and make it really humanize it, and then hit them with your novel solution, and then compare that novel solution to other attempts at solving the problem that haven't worked, so that you can really make that stand out. Great question. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those responses. That's really helpful.
I just wanted to bring up a question that was interrupted in my breakout before we had to come back to the main room, and it was, should you cater or change your pitch a bit depending on the audience? Like, for example, there's like this storytelling, this like engaged and like excited, like this happy aspect of pitching. But then what if it's for like a med tech venture, or if it's for some kind of like therapeutic option for a disease that is very deadly and it's very serious? And so I have an example where I was speaking with someone and they were telling me about their therapy in regards to lung cancer, but it's okay that it hasn't been cured yet because like that keeps me in business. And like that is a joke that's not acceptable. And for me personally, it really wasn't, because my mother died of lung cancer, which is why I'm in cancer biology to begin with. So knowing your audience is really important in how you craft your pitch. So if it is something more lighthearted, if it's a more lighthearted audience, have a more lighthearted pitch. But if it is something more somber and serious and your audience is one that would prefer that tone, make sure you keep that in mind.
Thank you, Marina. That's also terrific advice, and something that as a team we try to preach as much as we can, is that your venture should match your mission. It should match your vibe, and allowing that to inform not just your pitch, but in fact your whole business plan is really important. And so just like Marina says, and as an example, you know, I had a startup in ed tech, or a hardware software startup, where I had so many different audiences that I kept 3 or 4 living pitches on my phone, so I could pitch to investors, or pitch to potential teammates, or pitch to potential stakeholders. And so, yeah, absolutely, you should have a pitch deck that matches your audience and have several of them. Great question again. Thank you, Marina.
Okay, we'll give it a few seconds for anybody else who might want to ask a question. Okay, perfect. So I hope you guys enjoyed the event. If you want to continue like following up with LPCE or like see what we have to offer, then like please visit our website, lpce.org. We have events on there. You can also click the Join Us tab and then sign up for our newsletter. Our newsletter only goes out once a month. We will not spam you. Literally, it's 12 emails a year, and it has everything that we have to offer on there, from events to like talks to guest speakers to like funding opportunities to office hours. So I would highly, and a crossword and a comic. So it's a fun newsletter, and I would highly encourage you to sign up if you are pursuing a startup of any kind and are a Harvard student, because we're a really great resource and we just want to be here for you. Some events that we have coming up is next Friday, we have a networking and trivia night, which should be not only fun, but also helpful for you to meet other entrepreneurs in the Harvard community. And then later in March, we have a Art plus Climate panel, which is kind of like a fireside chat style talk about the intersection between art and climate and how that interacts, and possibly how we can like use it to create like startups or to think about it in an entrepreneurial mindset. So with that, unless anybody else has any final thoughts from I guess like in general, from the LPC community or from all you guys.